In today's lesson, I'm going to be demonstrating my 11-step improvisation mastery plan. Now, this plan is completely sequential, meaning I'm going to start with step number 1, the most basic improvisational element you need to learn and focus on. And then I'm going to layer on a new improvisational tool onto that, and then demonstrate that and continue to layer on each individual concept so you can see what it would be like to follow a clear improvisational plan to elevate your sound to a professional level. You get to see how all the components combined start to create a truly professional improvisational sound. My name is Brendan Lowe, creator and founder of Jazz Piano School. Don't forget to go to jazzpianoschool.com to check out all the amazing free education that is available there, and my new accelerator program, private program where you get to study with me, is now open for enrollment. If you are interested in that and joining a small group of students that are going to be participating in this program, go to jazzpianoschool.com/small group. But with that being said, let's dive right in.
All right, here are my 11 steps to improv mastery. Step number 1 is going to be chord tones. Again, I'm going to be doing the tune Autumn Leaves. This is going to be in the key of B flat, G minor, and here we go. Chord tones first. So I'm just going to be using chord tones taken from the chords of Autumn Leaves to improvise and solo with. Here we go. Step number 1, just chord tones. You're going to want to try to achieve that and be able to do that over any tune that you open up to in a real book. Step number 2 is going to be rhythm. I introduced rhythm second because you're going to need rhythm and rhythmic variation throughout all of these steps. Chord tones is going to be first, then rhythm. So even if you're not very good at rhythm with your chord tones, you can still start to create solos out of the chord tones, but now we're going to start to pick up the rhythms a little bit more, and we work on rhythmic variation throughout the use of just using chord tones. Here we go. Step number 2, adding more rhythms. I was using a lot of rhythms, but adding rhythms to chord tones. Clearly, I was doing a lot more rhythmic things. I was probably going above and beyond to demonstrate rhythm. But again, if you are using chord tones, you're going to want to start to introduce rhythmic variety and variation into your chord tone improvisation at this point. Okay, step number 3 is going to be connection of your chord tones. Clearly, we're just using chord tones. We need some fluidity. This is where your scalar motion or modes or scales are going to start to develop your improv even more. A lot of people hate modes. You're probably one of the individuals that might hate them too, but they start to connect your chord tones, and that's why they're so important. Here we go. Connection of chord tones. things start to change drastically at this step. And I'm only using chord tones, different types of rhythms, and scalar connections. That's it. That's all I'm using. I haven't introduced anything else. So step 3 is going to be connecting chord tones with scalar motion. Obviously, I was doing some skips and things like that. Step number 4 is going to be the introduction of bebop approach notes. Now, this is where things get really fun. This is where things get very elevated as well. And again, through all these steps, you are applying rhythmic variation and different fun varieties of rhythms to each one of these steps. So I will include rhythmic variation in this bebop approaches as well. Here we go. That's just going to be the introduction of bebop approach notes. I made a couple of mistakes. Again, I'm trying to just do the introduction of these particular steps in order. So step number 4 is going to be, that was all bebop approach notes. So again, right now I'm doing a combination of 4 things: chord tones, rhythm, scalar connection, and bebop approach. If you're using those four components successfully, this is what your improv will sound like, okay? How do we take it further? Number 5, you'll obviously notice that I'm really not going outside the box much right now because I'm not using any improvisational tools. Now, I categorize improv tools as miscellaneous kind of scales: the altered scale, half-whole scale, whole tone scale, blues scale, any sort of miscellaneous improv tools I'm going to start to now introduce in combination with the last 4 steps that I've just played for you. Okay, here we go. So clearly I was using blues scale, I used some altered scale, I used some half-whole scale. I'm using miscellaneous improvisational ideas. The only element that was in there that I noticed as I was playing through was more ornamental or musicality textures, which included ornaments. I don't include those until later on in this sequential path, but I apologize for that. So that was step number 5, improv tools. I'm now finally going to start to add my left hand in. Finally, step number 6 is going to be left hand, and there's a lot of different types of methods of introducing your left hand. You're going to hear different types of methods, including call and response, together, separate, obviously. But step number 6 is going to elevate your improv sound even more. Here is improv with my left hand now. now clearly our sound has gotten even better. Our improvisation has gotten even better because I'm introducing new different types of voicings in my left hand, extensions, rhythms, all sorts of elevated textures that are still improving our improv, still making it sound even better with each new layer that we add on. Number 7 is going to be more miscellaneous improvisational chords. Diminished scale, minor, major stuff. I was kind of adding the minor, major in before, but I'll do a little bit more of that now. And any sort of kind of miscellaneous minor 2-5-1s or just like interesting chords, minor 6 chords, minor 4 chords. This is where you're kind of really starting to dive into the nuances of the harmonies at this point and really get into the inflections that each specific chord change holds. Okay, so like I said, listen for a lot of minor, more nuanced minor stuff, and other variations of that. Here we go. This is number 7. Number 7. So again, in the tune Autumn Leaves, obviously a lot of the minor stuff is going to come to play. In other tunes, you might experience, like I said, diminished chords. There's not really diminished chords in this. Diminished chords, minor 4 chords, stuff like that. But it's going to be all kind of like the interesting or odd changes. Now, this miscellaneous section, chord changes, is different from the miscellaneous step we covered before in step number 5, which is miscellaneous improv tools. The miscellaneous improv tools are things like the blues scale, the things that you switch up and you can kind of choose to paint your improv with. The altered scale, the half-whole scale, the whole half scale, like I said, the whole tone scale, any sort of different type Lydian, any sort of colors or modes. Those are going to be miscellaneous improv tools. These are miscellaneous improv changes, kind of like the odd changes that you don't see that much. Number 8 is going to be reharm. So we're still elevating our improvisational sound even further. We're introducing the concept of reharms now as layer 8 in our improvisational journey. Here we go. Starting to add the introduction of reharms into everything that we stacked up onto at this point is still elevating our sound. It's still bringing us to that next level of improvisation mastery. Now, musicality I've actually been doing throughout this entire time because really without musicality, improv is never going to sound good. Now, what do I mean by musicality? I mean different types of textures, slides, motifs, repetitive lines, different sort of melodies, things like that, using the entire register of the piano, using the low register, the high register, having fun with your solo, right? Any sort of kind of fun double-handed dyads, triads, comping techniques that I use. Right, just lots of different types of textures, dynamics, things like that, soft, loud, a lot of contrasting elements. This is what I call musicality, and this really, really starts to bring your improvisation to life with all these different types of things, trills, ornaments. As I mentioned before, I was still doing ornaments before, but a lot of this really will start to even elevate all of the kind of technical tools or the brainiac tools that we've done before, the previous work. It's going to bring it to life and actually make music out of it. So here we go. Lots and lots of different textures I was using. Glissandos, up and down, double-handed lines, comping chords, slides, trills, ornaments, dynamics, low-end parts of the register, high-end parts of the piano. This is what I call musicality. They're not necessarily new notes. It's not necessarily new techniques or anything like that. But these are all the fun, fancy kind of like tricks or hacks, I guess you want to call them. They're musicality. They're textures. They're just textures. Loud, soft, thick, thin. All these type of textures woven into your improvisational solo that continues to elevate your solo even further based on the methods and tools that you already know. Now, I got 2 more steps for you. Step number 10 is going to be development. Now, obviously, I can use textures up the wazoo, but if they're not really kind of intertwined into the story and building upon each other and kind of really like developing an arc to your solo, they're not going to really mean much. It's going to kind of like saying random bits of information or random sentences here and there. So what I'm going to try and do is really develop my solo now, have a nice arc to it, start to introduce all these elements slowly, and then kind of bring it back down. Here we go. Not my best, but not my worst. But clearly you could kind of start to see a build, an arch to the progression of all the different elements, leading, developing a story, motifs where I keep an idea going, I develop a new idea and then stay with that idea for long periods of time. And it really starts to bring you on a journey, a thematic journey of different themes I bring back, themes I stay with, and then kind of progress you through the improvisational story to the end. Now, the final thing that I put on here, because this is really based on choice and the direction you want to go, and it can really kind of be woven into this whole entire process, is styles. How do you want to sound when you improvise? I add this last because everything up until this point should really be learned and mastered before you get into styles, because at the heart of this, you want to be able to master a lot of the things that I've just shown you. Back in the improvisational tools, this is where a lot of stylistic things may happen. Whereas, like if you're interested in modern, in step number 5, your improvisational tools, you may be wanting to focusing on your pentatonic scales, your hexatonic scales. If you're more into bebop, then you might want to, focus more on your bebop approach notes and altered scales and leave that kind of stuff out. But right now we're going to get into styles. So I'll kind of switch up the style. I can do blues. I can do Errol Garner style, modern style, traditional bebop style, more in between. So I'll kind of switch back and forth between styles. You'll start to hear the difference. Oscar Peterson, different variations on the way people play. Here we go. Switch it up now. Yeah. Change the reverb. Maybe we do more blues. Modern here, more fourths, more pentatonic scales. That was more modern style. I got some Brad Mehldau going there. But anyway, styles is obviously going to be your choice. I did a little Oscar, I did a little traditional bebop, I did a little Errol Garner, I did a little who knows what. Some of it was my stuff, some modern stuff, but clearly styles is going to be the last choice because you can really go in so many different directions based on what your Desire is at that point because you have all the tools. So just to go over all the steps again, number 1, chord tones. Number 2, rhythms. And again, anytime I introduce an element, that element stays for the rest of the entirety of the steps of the journey. It doesn't mean you're just doing it at that level. It means it stays there and you're combining that with the other elements that are being introduced on your path. Number 3, connecting of chord tones, scalar motion, modes. Number 4, bebop approach notes. Number 5, improvisational tools, pentatonic scales, hexatonic scales, blues scales, all 3 blues scales, minor, major 6, full major blues scale, altered scale, half whole scale, whole tone scales, all the different types of improvisational tools to bring you outside the box, bring you colors, different types of colors. So number 6, your left hand, different types of left hand voicings, extensions, voicings, 3-note voicings, 4-note voicings, 5-note voicings, right? How you comp, when you comp, with your right hand, without your right hand, call and response methods and strategies. Number 7 is going to be miscellaneous improvisational chords. So diminished chords, minor 6 chords, minor major chords, minor 6 chords, 6 chords, right? Any sort of kind of weird or nuanced harmonic chord that you might want to play over, minor, major, major sharp 5, any sort of weird voicings like that. Number 8 is going to be reharms, reharming the tune, improvising over reharms. Number 9 is going to be addition of musicality. Again, musicality should always be added throughout, but this last step will really elevate your playing to a whole new level. And you can really add musicality at any point, but textures like trills, ornaments, every part of the piano, the low end, the mid to low, the middle, the mid to high, the high end, right? Loud, soft, thick, thin, lots of notes, little notes, lots of contrasting textures, to really give musicality to all of your playing, like bring it to life. That was number 9. Number 10 is thematic development, storytelling, motifs. Right? Introducing a theme, then maybe staying with that theme, bring it back later, introducing a new theme, kind of like Peter and the Wolf, telling a story of themes, coming back to that, really bringing the listener on a journey, rhythmic motifs, melodic motifs, long, short, thick, thin. Again, all these textures are going to help you develop your story, thinking about an overall arc to your improv, how many courses you're going to take, how fast you're coming out of the gate, how slow you're coming out of the gate. And then finally, styles. What stylistic genre do you want to improvise more inside? The traditional bebop method, hard bop, modern, Errol Garner, specific pianist you want to sound like, Oscar Peterson, Errol Garner, Bud Powell, Chick, Brad, Keith, Herbie, whatever it is, okay? So if you go through these bullet points and honestly you work on them in this sequential order, because I did build this in a sequential order, then trust me, you will be on the right path to improvisational mastery, okay? Again, don't forget to go check out my open enrollment group that is now available, where I can help you with all these things inside a private program where you get to study private lessons with me. That can be found at jazzpianoschool.com/small group. Hope you guys enjoyed that kind of sequential system to improvisation mastery that I've demonstrated for you. Hope you have a fantastic day. All right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Don't forget to go to jazzpianoschool.com to check out all of our free, amazing education, all of the free podcasts, blogs. We do have a membership if you're looking to take a next step forward with us, get access to over 1,000 different jazz piano videos, playbooks, mini courses, a main course curriculum, success path, and so much more. If you have any questions, feel free to email us at support@jazzpianoschool.com. I hope you have a wonderful day, and as always, happy practicing.